Hello friends, welcome back. So today's new chapter is the government budget. Let's begin. Here we go. The chapter begins with the definition. What do you mean by the term government budget? As we know that budgeting happens for the time to come. So it would be in a financial statement format carrying all the estimated or tentative statements, right? And tentative receipts as well as tentative expenditures, and it is made for 1 year, right? And how it is made as per the government's key priorities, the national objectives, the situation, social and economic situation of the country. So, considering all these points, we frame a definition, and this is a government budget is an annual financial statement presenting the government's estimated receipts and expenditures for the upcoming financial year. And financial year is 1st April to 31st of March. And this is the key instrument for using the fiscal policy, because fiscal policy simply deals with where the government should be spending, where should it have the income and revenue generated from the economy. So after this, let's carry on with the objectives of the government budget. This is a full-fledged question of 3 to 4 marks, which is very often asked after every 3-4 years. You have some question related to the objectives. The very first objective is the reallocation of resources. So government reallocates the resources and it influences how? How? The first pointer is through the policies of taxation, concession, and subsidies, right? It tries to do some social welfare. How and why? For all the harmful products, it tries to levy more of taxes, and wherever there is something to be promoted, which is good for the nation, for the surroundings, for reducing pollution, so government tries to give subsidies on those cases. So the very first thing is tax, concession, and subsidies, the discouraging harmful goods. That is, it puts high taxes on tobacco and encourages beneficial ones like khadi products, right? Like solar panels. So these are promoted by giving subsidies. And then the second point is the direct production of goods and services. Why the government is required to produce at all? Because whenever we talk about the private sector, the first and foremost motive is it is money oriented, profit oriented. But there are number of fields wherein the profits are less but are the dire need of the economy and the masses. Right. For those things, for example, these are defense, roads, administration, right? These things government itself goes for the production. That's called the direct production. And direct production of what? The public goods. These are the example of the public goods, right? Which the private people and the private sector is not really interested in. Right. There are two very important keywords given here, non-excludable and non-rivalrous. These are the features of public sector goods or public goods. What does it mean? Let me take up one by one. Non-excludable means any public good is available for all the citizens of the country, right? So no one can be excluded from the consumption of public good on the basis of creed, caste, color, age, religion, or any other criteria. Means these are open to all. There is no criteria that one should consume it and one should not consume the same. Then, non-rivalrous. To give the details, let me take one example here for defining this. Say, a family has got 2 kids, right? And a pizza is ordered. Okay. And by default, this is the segment, one child will have half of it, the other child would have half of it, right? But if one child is taking this much, means 1/4 of it, then the other is benefited and gets to have 3/4. But if one child is sleeping and the naughty child, took 3/4, so the other child is left with just the 1/4. It means the consumption of pizza is rivalrous here. By one person's consumption, the other person's consumption is impacted. Whereas it is not so with the public goods. Public goods are open to all. If one person is consuming, it's not that it's not left for the other person. So these are non-rivalrous in nature. Now let's talk about the second and very important objective, and that is called reducing inequalities in income and wealth. What do you know of inequality? We in mathematics use this symbol. These are either greater than or less than. Means, or inequality, we also say that these are not equal to each other. Means, if we're talking about the inequalities of income and wealth, one is rich, the other is poor, and that gap between the rich and poor is widening, making them richer and poorer. Right. So government tries to just bridge this gap by bringing the rich here and the poor here. Means by benefiting the poor. And how would it benefit the poor? By taking some money from rich. So it tries to bridge up the gap. So this is done with the help of progressive taxation. The direct taxes are progressive in nature, and when we say progressive taxation, the big deal is to point to understand here is that it is based on the ability to pay. If you have more ability to pay, you would be given more taxes. Means more taxes would be levied on your income. And if you have less ability to pay, so if you're earning less, it would be lesser levied onto you. Then is the subsidies and transfer payments. Subsidies means the financial benefits, help which is given. For example, we all get the subsidy on LPG. The subsidies are also provided on the domestic electricity bills, right? Transfer payments, we have read about this in national income wherever there is no bilateral transaction happening. Means it's only one-sided. So it is just to benefit some segment like pensions, unemployment allowances for the lower income group. These are the transfer payments given for the benefit and the welfare work. And the public expenditure. Public expenditure again means where the government is spending for the benefit overall for the poor section. So if government is spending for poor, it means government is trying to save the money to be spent by poor, and hence the poor can spend its own money on some other things, right? So this way, social security, health, education, these benefits are given by the government's expenditure, and that is there as the one of the objectives of government budget. And this is how government, by these three things, tries to reduce the inequality of income and wealth. Then we talk about economic stability. The moment we say stability, it means there should neither be inflation nor be deflation in the economy. And we have read about these two topics very well in the banking also and in the determination of income and employment also. The government using its tools of quantitative and qualitative aspects, right? It simply tries to curb on the inflationary and deflationary tendencies happening in the economy. We do know that inflation means the money supply is very high. So there is a boom tendency, and government tries to make the surplus budget in it. Surplus budget means, what do you mean by surplus budget? Where revenues are more or receipts are more than the expenses. It means government tries to put more income tax, would spend less on the people. How? So that the money should go less into the economy and somehow it should be sucked back to the government. And this way, the inflationary tendencies would be controlled. And opposite is true for the deflationary tendency. Deflation means where the money is less in the economy and government is required to pump in some money in the economy. So how would it pump in? It would take less from them and give more to them by public expenditure. Right. So this way government tries to stabilize the economy. The next objective is the management of public enterprises. I told you that many fields are there where private people are not really interested. Why? Because profits are not there, not up to their satisfaction. But these are the things of mass consumption, mass use, and utterly important for the mankind or for the whole economy. So how the government manages? Government takes these up. Now, here you must understand these are funded by the government, and whatever revenues, if at all, are generated, these revenues are given back to government again. Right. So that's how government budget provides financial resources to these public enterprises and sets the targets also. And this is how it manages, sets the targets that this much is given to you and this should be the revenue given back to me. Now, then economic growth. How the growth is boosted in any economy? Through infrastructure. And we know the infrastructure is of two types, economic and social. So when we strengthen the economic and social infrastructure with the help of research, education, health, dams, bridges, metro trains, bullet trains, and what other are there? Other parameters. So, with this better infrastructure, the economic growth happens, and this is funded through the government budget. Then, the reducing of regional disparities. Reduction of regional disparities. This is very much relatable to the inequalities of income and wealth. There we talked about the people who are rich and poor. Here the point is the states, the regions which are rich or poor. So government tries that wherever there is less development, so the industrial setup should come there, the industries should be set there, right? So to lure those industries, schools, colleges, shopping malls, complexes, etc., government tries that these should come in that backward area and there should also be growth happening afterwards, right? So how does it do? By giving some benefit in terms of the tax rebates and subsidies, etc. So this way, the regional disparities are also taken care of by the government budget. Over for now. In the next video, we'll talk about the components of government budget and we'll continue here from. Till then, see ya. Have a great day. Bye-bye.